Hello and welcome back for another historic video. Today we're going to be taking a look at this Dredgeless Dredge deck in best of 3. The deck is looking to utilize cards like Otherworldly Gaze, Tome Scour, Stitcher Supplier, and Glimpse the Unthinkable to mill over cards from our library and then bring them back to the battlefield. Key interactions are Narcomoeba and Bloodghast, bringing back the prized Amalgam, as well as Silversmote Ghoul being brought back to the battlefield using Creeping Chill, which also would trigger the Amalgams. One thing to note is with 4 copies of Creeping Chill in our deck, essentially we're starting at 32 life and our opponent is starting at 8, meaning we really don't need to deal much combat damage in order to win the game. A recent addition to the deck is 2 copies of Psychic Frog, which synergizes nicely with discarding some of our recursive threats, while also being a fair threat in the deck. And then there's a single copy of Wonder that we can use to give our creatures flying if we have an island in play, allowing us to fly over our opponent's blockers. For the sideboard, a lot of our cards are targeted towards different types of graveyard hate. A null to counter a lot of the 1-mana artifacts. Counterspell if we switch to a more fair plan with Psychic Frog as protection. Feed the Swarm for ley lines and also creature removal. A couple extra copies of Psychic Frog. Force of Negation as a pitch cast card that we can also use to counter our opponent's graveyard hate. And Karn Stylex, which acts as both a board wipe and also sweeps up small graveyard hate as well. If we kill our own creatures, we usually don't mind as much since we can recur them from the graveyard later in the game. Historically, this style of deck is fairly difficult to interact with, and I have high hopes for how it performs in the matches today. Before we jump into the gameplay, I'd like to ask you to please like and subscribe the video. It really helps the channel. And without further ado, let's jump into the games. We've won the die roll. We'll play first. This hand is fine. We don't really want to have the Creeping Chill and Wonder in our hand, but we have card selection with the Gaze, and then a good mill. And then here, I think we need to hold up the Gaze. We do need our second land for Glimpse the Unthinkable. Opponent shocks in. No play. I hope this is not a control deck, because at the speed they're playing currently, it's going to take a couple hours to finish up. And then we'll keep the Watery Grave. The other cards can get milled anyway, using Glimpse the Unthinkable. So keeping 2 lands on top doesn't matter that much. Return the Bloodghast. And then we'll attempt to Glimpse. Good counter target if our opponent has something like Spell Pierce. And that's enough for a concession here. We don't really know what our opponent's playing. Could do a full sideboard juke. Could just bring in some generic answer spells. I think we'll bring in some forces. We can cut one of the Stitcher Suppliers since they're not a blue card. And then we'll wait until game 3, see if we need to bring in anything else. This hand just won't do this time. Not on 1 land with no selection. And this we can keep. We'll put the Creeping Chill back. And opponent has a Leyline start. Jeskai from our opponent. That's fine. We'll start on the pathway. And then we're going to hold on to Tome Scour. That way we can pitch it to Force of Negation if needed. Oh boy. Well, might as well counter this. Otherworldly Gaze will still give us card selection off the top. We'll hold on to it for now. Again, it's a good force target. And then we'll play out our Ghoul. Could have started on the Psychic Frog, but we want to try and draw out any removal. Alright, we'll attack in, see if our opponent wants to trade. They do. And then we'll play out the Psychic Frog. Pass the turn. We do have the Force still to protect it. Next turn we can hard cast it. And that's enough for the concession from our opponent. So we're able to beat Leyline without any removal. Good game. We've won the die roll again. We'll play first. Here, with only a Tome Scour, I think we have to mulligan. This one is also not very good. No mill. And on 4, we have to keep, unfortunately, sending 2 Creeping Chills to the bottom. So this is going to be an uphill battle. We'll start on the river, pass the turn. If we draw into one of our Bloodghast, we might want to play the Pathway on black so that we can hard cast it. We'll cast our Gaze, and they probably have interaction for the Psychic Frog, but we'll still draw it here. And then we will put the Pathway on black. This will bring back the Bloodghast, which in turn will bring back the Amalgam. And then I think we're going to hold on to Psychic Frog until they've exhausted some of their removal. So we'll Tome Scour. Set an upkeep stop as well, so that we can use the Otherworldly Gaze during our upkeep and have a little bit better selection during our draw. They Troll Cycle, so maybe they're on a reanimation strategy as well. Let's see what we have here. This is great. We'll grab another Amalgam. Take the land, and then we'll attack in before we play the land out in case our opponent destroys our Bloodghast. Failure from our opponent. Doesn't impact our side of the board. See if they have a removal spell they can flicker. They do not, and that's enough for the concession. Not knowing what our opponent is going to be bringing in here, I think we do the same thing as last round. We'll bring in the Forces, shave 3 of the Stitchers, and then don't really want Psychic Frog against the Felia deck. Maybe we'll bring in a couple Feed the Swarm instead. That way we can destroy something like a Leyline, and it's also good against their creatures. And we'll give this a try. It's also not unreasonable to bring in a Karn Stylex here. I think we'll wait to see if there's a game 3 before evaluating that card. This is a very fair hand. Don't think it's going to cut it. This is better. We can keep, and we'll get rid of the second island, I suppose. Play out Dark Slick Shores, and we're going to Tome Scour here. And we can Gaze in the upkeep. Opponent has something that they can cast here. Fragment Reality. We have the Stitcher Supplier, so that was not the best for our opponent. Overlord can provide them quite a bit of value. Surgical Extraction, so we do need some counter spells. And we can take the Glimpse here. We won't be able to cast it until next turn. Hit for 1. Play out a tapped Order Grave. Brings back our Amalgam. Make sure to set an upkeep stop. Looks like we missed it. So we'll mill ourselves. Hit a couple Creeping Chill here. A couple Narcomoeba. We are going to need our Wonder to fly over the Barragoyf, but they attack in with it here. We'll chump with one of the Narcomoeba. Probably should have used Stitcher Supplier there. That was a bit of a mistake. And they have another Barragoyf, so this is going to be almost impossible to overcome at this point now. We'll lead off with the Glimpse. Hit the last of our Creeping Chill. Still no Wonder. You can play out an island here, and then we'll swing in with our Flyer. Pass the turn. One thing we can do is we can block with the Ghoul and sacrifice it to prevent life gain, but with all our Creeping Chill gone, we won't be able to get it back from the graveyard anymore. And they're actually going to just exile it, so might as well draw now. They attack in. No blocks this time. This is most likely game over. They're going to get to put 2 creatures back in their hand. Pyrogoyf. Quite an interesting deck from our opponent. There's a little loose synergy, but it's not normally the cards you see played together. Here, do they just target the Barragoyf? That probably was the better choice. So, we'll do the only play we have. Cast the Gaze. Is this enough? We can cast the second one here. Another Bloodghast, another Amalgam. Not going to do the math, but it's going to be close. I guess the Bloodghast don't have haste, so it actually is not going to be close. Attacking with everything. Opponent down to 6. They're going to go back up to 16 again after their attack. Pyrogoyf can take out some of our creatures. Most likely just goes for an Amalgam. Goes to the Ghoul. It's also a good choice since we can't bring it back anymore. And then what would they grab here? Valor. So for Graveyard Hate, they really only have Surgical Extractions from what we've seen, and the Trawler. They have some discard still, and again, the Barragoyfs are going to be a lot of trouble. Attack in, and I don't think this is going to be enough. So 2 points short. We can play out a Ghoul, play out an Amalgam. Opponent still has more than enough for lethal here. And another Goyf. It's 10 to face, and that'll do. So we have a bit of a difficult situation here. We want to have Force of Negation for their surgical extractions, but we're also trying to deal with their creatures and enchantments. Maybe we go up 2 more Feed the Swarm. We'll bring back in a Stitcher Supplier. Drop a couple Tome Scours and do the 61 card special. We'll give that a go. Still don't think we want the Stylex. A lot of their cards are more expensive, and so it's hard to get it up to the right mana values. We'll play first. This hand is about as good as we're going to get. Start on a tap land and just hope they don't have a Thoughtseize. So far, so good. Surgical Extraction is the next test. And it's just a Narcomoeba by itself. They'll Fatal Push. That's fine. And they have an Overlord, so a good start from our opponent. They whiff here though. That's what we needed. So we can start on a Gaze. Creeping Chill. And then we don't mind drawing into the Tome Scour next turn. And we'll play out the Swamp. That'll bring back one of the Bloodghast, and we'll hard cast the other one. 10 power in play. Divine Purge. Brutal. Didn't see that in the first two games. Make sure to get our upkeep stop set. We'll Gaze here. Try and rebuild. Not the best. We'll still take the Tome Scour. Now it seems as though our opponent might have a Surgical Extraction. Play out the island. Get back a Bloodghast. Maybe. Two of them are in exile already, so not the best surgical target. They might go for the Amalgam instead. And they do. So this one is slipping very rapidly. How many Creeping Chill did we hit so far? Just the one. So in theory, we could still do 9 direct damage to our opponent. So we really want to get at least 3 more damage in. We will try to attack in first. And then here, we'll play out the pathway that they know about already, and one of the ghouls. Next turn, the Bloodghast is going to enter tapped from exile, so we won't be able to attack in with it. And this is going to flicker the Overlord. Glimpse is good. I'll use that. Hit one Creeping Chill. Then I think we still attack in with the Ghoul. It will come back if they block it with the Dollmaker, since we gained 3 life already. Play out the island. Get a Bloodghast back and pass the turn. Ophelia is going to flicker the Bellmark, most likely. We'll take 2. They get back the Dollmaker. We'll actually take the other Feed the Swarm here. And then no point in using the other Gaze at this point, so we'll just go to turn. Definitely want to take out a Baraglyph. Then we can attack in with everything. Let's see here, we have the option. We can let them delete something. Or we could take out the Overlord. I think we need to take out the Overlord, actually. If they attack in with it and get a Baraglyph back, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. So we'll let them delete our Bloodghast. They go for the Narcomoeba instead. Don't necessarily agree with that one. I know they think they can just block the Bloodghast with the Dollmaker, which is true, but that's a trade, and we're going to get the Bloodghast back. And feed the Swarm off the top here. Should do it if our opponent doesn't have a white removal spell. Great game. Match 3, we won the die roll again. Quite lucky today. Play first again, and this hand is not going to do. One lander, no way to get a card in our graveyard. Take a mulligan. And I don't think just the Stitcher Supplier is enough. Double Tome Scour, we'll give that a try. And then put both of the Dredge cards on the bottom. Have to hope did some good things here. And of course, we mill over everything that we would want to draw. Up against either a tempo deck or spirits. We'll try again with Glimpse, which is a good top deck. And this is going to return quite a bit of power. The Ghouls will bring back the Amalgam, and now we're attacking for 9 next turn. Kind of hope with the tempo deck, they're going to have a lot of trouble at this point. Human Wizard flying, so maybe they're just trying to create value with flying creatures. I don't know. We'll attack in first. They take 9. Tome Scour. Grab a Narcomoeba. And then here, for mana efficiency, I think we're going to flash back the Gaze. And we're going to Gaze again, so we don't want any of this. Pass the turn. Consider. Going to make a token with the Mystic. Is this just a second card? Yep. And so they showed us Consider when they didn't need to. Allowed us to get the win. In this matchup, I think we are going to want the Stylex, and we'll shave 2 of the Stitcher. Do we want something like the Force? I think we can also probably take out the Psychic Frog. And we'll bring in a couple Feed the Swarm. Give this a try. Can adjust again for game 3 if there is one. This hand looks good to me. We'll keep. An island. We'll shock in, try and use the Tome Scour. Opponent lets that go. Just hit a Creeping Chill. No Ghoul in the graveyard, so not the best. They play out an Escort. Pass the turn back. We have to shock ourselves. Play the Glimpse. And those weren't the best hits. So we're going into turn 3, and we still don't have a creature on board after milling 15 cards. Opponent shocks in here, so don't have high hopes that this Gaze will resolve. There's a Force Spike. And we draw into a Ghoul, so we'll just pass the turn here. Shock in again. We'll try the Gaze. That works, and we'll take the Dark Slick Shores. Play that out, get our Bloodghast back. This will trigger the Amalgam. And we'll hardcast the Narcomoeba. Terrible counter target. Opponent wastes a spike on it. We'd like to see that. We'll set an upkeep stop as well. Try and use another one of our gaze. I'm not familiar with this one. Alright, that's fine. And this is pretty good. Put all three of those in the graveyard. We'll just attack in with all three and see what our opponent wants to do about it. They take it down to 4 and pretty much concede the game here, I think. So this deck was a bit janky, didn't really give us much trouble. Won the die roll for the 4th time here. We'll play first. And this is a keepable hand. We can use the Psychic Frog to discard the Bloodghasts and then bring them back with any landfall. No play from our opponent. We'll use the gaze. Hitting Creeping Chill, and we'll take probably the Swamp. Can play it without taking damage. And we might as well run out the Frog here. He's susceptible to white removal still. They're going to tutor up a Ruby Medallion, so we're against a Ruby Storm deck. They'll probably just play out the Medallion here, and they do. During our upkeep, I think we used the Otherworldly Gaze from hand. That's great. We can bring back both of those Amalgams with these Bloodghast. And then we'll take our natural draw. Discard some cards. And then I think we can discard the Verge as well. Attack in. Get to draw a card here. And it's a glimpse, so we might even be able to pretty much kill our opponent. They have to try and win next turn. Couple more Amalgams will come back at our opponent's end step as well, because they'll be triggered by these two that just came in. Opponent starts off with an Enlightened Tutor. They're only going to have 2 mana to work with here. Don't think there's anything our opponent can have. They just showed us that they have Breach in their deck, and they didn't need to. So we can bring in the Annul, try and counter their Medallion. Feed the Swarm. We don't want that necessarily. Don't think we need the Stylex. Maybe a couple Force. So similar to last rounds, we'll shave a couple of the Stitcher and maybe a few of the Tome Scours. Do we want to go down on anything else? Could go down on a Psychic Frog, bring in another Force here on the draw. Don't hate that. We'll give this a try. Here we have the Annul. No real mill cards. Opponent kept a hand of 7. We'll give it a try. I don't think it's the strongest. Play out the Verge and pass. Try and counter the medallion. That works. And then here we're just left to hard casting our cards and hoping they don't have a good follow-up. Bergie, that's half of their combo. We'll attack in with the Bloodghast, see if they want to block. They do. Bloodghast comes back, and we'll play out the Amalgam. Electrostatic Blast. And then a Ghost Vacuum. Now we know what their graveyard hate of choice is. And Static Prison will temporarily take out the prized Amalgam until they run out of energy. Here, I think we just cast the Ghoul. Pass the turn. And a DRC, which is fine. We'll play out the Narcomoeba. Tap Ordery Grave, pass the turn. They use the Ghost Vacuum. Static Prison running out of energy here. And we'll just take our draw step. Attack in the air. Pass the turn back. No need to get impatient. You can try to overwhelm the Ghost Vacuum all in one turn. Pretty good set of draws there from our opponent. We start on the medallion. With Bergie in play, this could just burn us out. Manamorphose, great top deck with the Amulet. It's going to generate 3 mana and draw a card. DRC gets some selection. And then Impulse. See a couple more cards here. That's not a good sign for us. Two more cards off Ren's Resolve. Which is really 3 cards because they get the selection from the DRC. And they take another Amulet. Hard casting Pinnacle Monk. They take another Tutor. This is just going to grab another Amulet. Yep, Underworld Breach. So that should be enough to win it here. We'll just go back to sideboarding. So a lot of artifacts on our opponent's side of the board, not many enchantments. How does that affect our game plan? I don't think a Psychic Frog pivot is fast enough. So we might actually take the other Psychic Frog out of the deck. That leaves us with at least one spot we can bring in. Karn Silex, once our opponent is popping off, won't make much of a difference. Do we bring back in a Stitcher supplier and just try and go faster? Do we bring in a counterspell? Slow things down a bit. I think we'll bring in a Tome Scour, try and run this back. We really just have to hope that our first turn or two puts enough power in play that we can pressure our opponent before they can set up. And this looks like a hand that can do it. We'll start on the Verge. It will create blue mana, and then we can use the pathway for black next turn. Play out the Verge, and then we'll Tome Scour first. Just a creep and chill. That's not very good. Gives our opponent time to get some graveyard hate down here. Nothing yet, so it's probably a tutor. This will bring back the Amalgam, put 10 power into play. And our opponent's at 15 already. So if they're just going to tutor for something like a Medallion, we could be in a pretty good spot. They get a land instead, so they're a bit mana hungry right now. And an Artist Talent. So this is our big turn. Start with the Gaze. And I think we will take the Tome Scour here. Take a draw step, and we'll scour first. Play out the pathway on black. Hit for 10. Most likely the last turn of the game here. Make sure to set our upkeep stop in case it isn't. Torpor Orb, good against some cards in our deck. Doesn't have a lot of synergy with theirs. And that's enough for the win. We were able to pressure them quick enough. On to the next. So close to winning all 5 die rolls. Well, this hand is not very good. We'll take a mulligan. This one is only marginally better. We'll put back one of the Water Grave. Opponent shocks in, plays out a Hierarch, and Unthinkable, Glimpse the Unthinkable off the top. Actually a great top deck. We'll use the Tome Scour, just hit a Narcomoeba, and a bunch of lands that we don't want. Next turn we're hoping for some big hits. Opponent is ramping quite nicely. Do they have another Mana Dork? It's going to be a Yawgmoth deck. Could be problematic for us. We will play out the river. Mill over some cards here. If our opponent has the tutor for the Yawgmoth, I don't think we can beat them. Hit for 1 in the air. We can give our creatures flying next turn. Sethroth will drain us. And then they attack in with the Cub. This will get buffed from both the Hierarchs. Take 4 down to 17. Well, make sure to try and get a stop in. We got that in time. So let's see. Don't think we want the Psychic Frog. Do we want the Tome Scour? We'll keep it on top. Then we can gaze again. Put both of these in the graveyard. Then we'll take the Tome. Shock in. This will bring back a Bloodghast, and we'd really love to hit a Creeping Chill here. Give this Bloodghast haste. Endurance will tuck our library. And then we'll scour. So now we're in a bit of trouble. Endurance's fat booty means that our 3 power creatures can't get in. They sacrifice the wolf here, drain us some more, and since our Narcomoebas can't get past Endurance anyway, we'll take the trade. It's likely our opponent has another Sephiroth in hand. I think this is going to be a good matchup for the Stylex. They attack Enuma. What was that middle card? Rat King Vermister, one of the new Ninja Turtle cards. And yep, there's the other Sephiroth. And a birthing ritual. Opponent is really popping off now. They're going to ruin our trophy run. We'll use Gaze. Well, that's not the worst. Do we want the land here? Probably. Play out the land tapped. One of our ghouls comes back, triggering our Amalgam. Opponent attacks for 9. I probably would have kept Endurance back if I were them, but I guess they knew they had Yogg in hand already. So for sideboarding here, definitely want the Stylex. Don't think Force of Negation is needed. Could look at Counterspell as well. Feed the Swarm. I think this is also a Psychic Frog. So we'll go down on some of our mill effects. And we'll give this a try. Play first. We have the Stylex, but not very much mana. I think we can do better. This hand's not better. And this one is pretty much all in on Psychic Frog. It's a powerful magic card. I think we'll give it a try, and we'll get rid of a Narcomoeba. And let's see, we'll play Warrior Grave tapped on 1. So don't think we need the island. If our opponent brought in, I was just about to say, Thoughtseize Fatal Push, then our hand does nothing. So this is not looking good. Try to find some good hits with the Glimpse. Hit the Ghoul and the Amalgam here, so at least we have 6 power on board. Doubt the turn too late. And a Psychic Frog off the top is also good. So we'll attack in. And then we'll play out the Psychic Frog. I think we just hold on to the land here. And that's enough for a concession. And for some reason they actually left the match. I think they were heavily favored with what I've seen so far. Oh well. Okay, so there you have the deck, and we did pull off the trophy there, although, again, in that last matchup, I don't think we were going to win that if our opponent played the 3rd game. However, they conceded, so we did manage to go 5-0. Very strong performance in the matches. As with most Dredge decks, you pretty much expect to win game 1, and then when it comes to game 2 and 3, you're either going to be bringing in a juke that your opponent is unprepared for, or after seeing what they bring in as graveyard hate, you're able to bring in suitable answers and have a favorable matchup going into game 3. Dredge is one of my favorite decks to play, as I enjoy the unique interactions and gameplay style of the deck, making it extremely enjoyable. Obviously, the addition of Psychic Frog as well is a huge improvement, as it gives you a fair threat that can also dump some of your Dredge targets into the graveyard from your hand, where you can essentially gain free value bringing them back. I can't wait for Wizards to actually port in some real Dredge cards into the format and really see this deck take off in power level. As always, I'd like to thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe for more content.